In this lecture, we'll define the model object for our project, which is patient, and also two Lambda classes, just the skeleton of the Lambdas. To do that, go to the source main Java, right click, new, class, start with the model object always, the object that carries the data, patient, checkout event. The package name is com.bharat.aws.lambda.s3 finish. The patient event will have 4 fields on it: public string first name of the patient, public string middle name, public string last name, and lastly public string SSN of the patient. Define a constructor that can be used to take all these. If you want to generate a constructor, the easiest way is select all these, right click, go to source and check for generate constructor using fields, that guy right there. Select all these fields. I want it after the SSN, at the end of it, generate. Do a Ctrl+Shift+F to format. Whenever you define a constructor like this, do not forget to add a public default constructor, which does nothing at least, but we should have it in place. Also override the toString method so that later on when we print this instance, we can see the values of all these fields. Instead of some hash code value of the object, we can see all these fields of the object getting rendered inside the CloudWatch logs. We don't need this super call here. You can get rid of it in the constructor. Select all these, right click, source, generate the toString method, that guy. So select all the fields you want, all the 4 fields. I want it, the insertion point is after the constructor, parameterized constructor, generate. And we have a nice little toString method. Next, let's create the skeleton Lambda functions. Right click, new, class. The first Lambda is the patient checkout Lambda. This is the guy that handles the event from S3. Finish. Double click to maximize. Since our methods are asynchronous, public void handler method. We will add the events and everything later on once we start coding. Right now, it's a very simple handler method. Save it. You can copy this Lambda, paste it on the same package. It will ask for rename. Create another Lambda. This guy is the bill management. Bill management Lambda. This will handle the event from SNS. Okay. So we have created the model object, which can receive the data from S3 as we parse it using object mapper. And then we have defined the skeleton for the patient checkout Lambda that is responsible for receiving the event asynchronously from S3, and bill management Lambda, which is responsible for handling the event when it comes from SNS.